Welcome to this next video, which I'm sure is going to draw some attention. Been playing around with two-factor authentication a little bit. That seems to be the buzzword, and quite rightly so. There's obviously many people that seem to find great pleasure in finding ways of hacking people's servers and their passwords. So one needs to take some extra precaution. And the obvious is also true, build up your passwords so that they are strong passwords, not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'm not trying to imply that you do that. I'm just using an example. And also, from a server security point of view, have a look at the firewalls. Are you using HTTPS? Are you using an SSH key? All those things encrypt the traffic between your laptop, or in my case, my laptop in front of me, and my server, which is out there in the cloud somewhere. Okay, if you are sitting with a server right next to you, obviously your situation changes. And if you are buying the service from somebody else, then you probably can't do those changes yourself, but certainly you can start asking questions, and I urge you to do that. But all right, for now, we're just going to look at two-factor authentication. Okay, let me just move my mouse so that at least there's some action going on. Right, now there's not much to do. Before I show you the settings, there are some of the documents on the internet that suggest that you do a bench site set config command. I did not find that necessary. I'm not quite sure why. Have a look at that. If it's required, if this doesn't work, then you have to say bench site. I hope I can remember the command correctly. Oops. It's bench site and then your site name. And then I think it was set config. Two-factor auth true. I think that's about it. But there's some documentation out there that can. I did not find that this is necessary for me. It may be the version. This particular server is running 12.10. It's one of the older servers I've got. My production is actually running on 12.26. But all right. It wasn't necessary for me, but keep that in mind. So all I did was go to settings and then system settings. And please, guys, you'll notice that some of the fields or some of the places on my screen might go blank during the video because I'm blanking out some sensitive information. Obviously, this is about security. Anyway, so you go to two-factor authentication and you enable that. All right. And then, of course, you set which method are you going to use. You can use OTP app, SMS, or email. Now, I did start off with playing around with SMS, but there's very few service providers in South Africa that, there's gateways that you can use, but they charge you an arm and a leg to send SMSs. But also I did some reading up, and really SMS is a 30-year-old protocol, which is all text, and somebody can intercept that. So think twice before you want to use SMS. Email as well, that can be intercepted. But it's up to you. It depends on your setup. I chose OTP app. Now, of course, there's a couple of other settings here, which I'm not going to go into now. Obviously, that's quite self-explanatory. If you've got restricted IP addresses, then of course it adds to security, etc. Right, then of course you save. Don't forget to save. But now we move into an area where I'd like to urge you to be cautious. Just think for a moment what you are going to do. You are enabling two-factor authentication on your server. If it doesn't work, you can't access the server. Why? Because of the following. When you enable that, by default, it actually sets the role all. It actually enables that. I've disabled it. So in other words, even your administrator requires two-factor authentication. Now, of course, that's all very well if that's what you require, but keep in mind that you are testing first. If something goes wrong, you can't log into your system. So what I did is I came here and I unticked that, and of course I saved it. Please save, otherwise it doesn't have an effect. All right, so how did I do the two-factor authentication? I've got a user that I've assigned a certain role, all right? And I've said it is I'm not opening that user because obviously, you know, I don't think there's any security stuff that's going to be visible, but anyway, I've assigned the role of stock manager to that position, to that user, all right? None of the other users, I did this. So all of the other users are open, including administrator does not require two-factor authentication if you untick that all there. But under stock manager, I came here and I ticked this. So I basically enabled the two-factor authentication for any user that's got this role. In my case, it's only one user. So effectively, I enabled two-factor authentication for one user. And of course, say save there, and that really is your setup. Okay, right, so how does this work? I actually found a nice picture here. Which describes it pretty nicely, I think. There's some issuer, all right, and that depends on which authenticator you use. There's quite a few of them. Google Authenticator, Microsoft Authenticator, Dubio, I think, was one, and there's a whole whack of these things. And basically what happens is you load the app onto your phone from Play Store, Google Play Store, Android Store, and when you open it up and you log on to your server, now I can't show that to you now, but when you log on, it doesn't actually, let me log out here, because I've already done this, so it's not going to give you that initial, that was the user, and I enter my password. Now what it's going to ask now is the code. On the first time that you do this, it's going to give you a message there. Please go to the registered email address for this user and follow the instructions, or something like this. Now let me just disable a couple of spots on the screen, and then that's what the email looks like. One-time registration code. It gives you a link. I've blocked that out. Sorry about that, but yeah. And then you click on that. All right, you click on this, and what it's going to create, and now I've got to put a block on there. It's going to send you a QR code. Now the code is behind this block, and it gives you instructions. Right, so you've got a QR code. Okay, let me go to my login screen, and then I can disable those blanking blocks. And on your app, you open up the app, and then of course it's the same as WhatsApp. You know, you get this little square in the screen, your camera gets activated, and you point this at the QR code, and it actually reads it. And that process links your phone to your profile. Okay, it makes that link. Okay, and the fact that that code, the QR code, was initially sent by the server means the server can also now be synced to this account. So both the server and your phone is synced, and they both run through a whole bunch of codes. I think it's every 30 seconds that it changes, but they are in sync. So when the server knows the code is 829170, your app shows that, and you've got 30 seconds to type it in. If you miss that, it shows the next code and the next code, and so it just carries on. All right, so this is now the stage where I'm in there. All right, so let me just open up my phone here, and I click on my app. It's going to change within 4 seconds, so let me rather take the next code. There it changes code, and it is 5, 6, 3. And you click on it, and it logs you in. All right, and there you're in. Which app to use now, of course. There's a whole whack of these apps, as I've already mentioned. I initially used Google Authenticator, and I must actually give you a warning about this. I'll get to that now. And I did a bit of reading up, and I'm not going to say this is the best. There's many of them, but this is the one I used. 2FAS, this is what the icon looks like. It looks rather simple and easy. Some of these apps have got backup facilities and etc. Have a look at what the features that they offer. There was a document that I read which strongly suggested that Google Authenticator should not be used. Not all the sites said that, so I moved away from Google Authenticator. But now, this is now where I want to warn you. I did actually use Google Authenticator for the one account, and then I deleted that app off my phone. And now it doesn't matter what I do with that account, it requires an OTP. It doesn't see that there's no, I've taken the app off my phone, therefore restart this whole process, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so what am I saying to you? Have a look at the authenticators and make your decision wisely before you enable this and set it up. Because, and I'm sure there's a back way that I can go and take it off a database entry somewhere that says that that particular account is using Google Authenticator. I'm sure there is, but for the moment there isn't. Now you can disable 2FA on that account, log in normally, but the moment you enable 2FA again, it wants that code. So it's not a good idea to sit here swapping between apps and enabling and disabling. Do your homework properly about which authenticator you want to use and run with that from the start and stick with it. That's my suggestion. If one of you guys have found a way of actually bypassing this and enabling you to jump between one app or the other, please drop a comment so we can all learn from that. But that's a bit of a warning that I'd like to issue to you. Right, I think that's about it. Hope you find that helpful and that you managed to set up your two-factor authentication. Enjoy.